What if I told you that everything you know about falling is backwards? You've been told your whole life that the Earth is pulling you down. Mass attracts mass. It's what they teach in every school on the planet. But it's wrong. Not just a little bit wrong. Fundamentally, geometrically, mind-bendingly wrong. Here is a fact that will break your brain. Right now, the sunlight hitting the Earth isn't just warming it up. It is physically shoving our entire planet with the force of 100,000 tons of pressure, constantly. Light has no mass, yet it hits like a sledgehammer. And you have felt this. Every time you step into the summer sun and feel that heat on your skin, you aren't just feeling temperature. You are feeling the physical collision of trillions of photons hammering into your atoms, pushing you backward. If light can push a planet, what if gravity isn't a pull from below? What if it's a push from above? This completely changes the mechanics of the universe. Let me show you. Try this right now. Hold your hand flat in front of your face. Look at it. Light from your screen is bouncing off your skin. It seems completely harmless, weightless, ghostly. Wrong. Every single particle of light is carrying momentum. When it crashes into your hand, it snaps against your cells and transfers that momentum. It is pushing you. Here's the part nobody tells you. If light, a thing with literally zero mass, can physically shove matter, then what the hell is mass anyway? And more importantly, if the universe is filled with this invisible pushing force, why don't we just float away? Think about that. The answer is hiding inside an everyday illusion, an illusion you are experiencing right this very second. Wait, you are sitting in a chair right now, or maybe standing. Whatever you are doing, you feel a pressure on the bottom of your feet or against your back. What is that feeling? If you ask a physics teacher, they will say something boring. They will say gravity is pulling you down and the chair is pushing back up. Wrong. Stop. Think about what you actually feel right now. You do not feel a magical pull from your head or your shoulders. You only feel the physical crush of the floor pushing up against your shoes. This is where your intuition completely fails. Albert Einstein realized this over a century ago. He called it his happiest thought. Close your eyes and imagine you are trapped inside a closed metal box. No windows, no doors. Suddenly you feel your feet pressed hard against the floor. You feel heavy. Are you resting quietly on Earth? Or are you floating in deep space, being dragged upward by a massive rocket at 9.8 meters per second squared? Here is the mind-bending truth. There is absolutely no difference. None. The math is identical. The physics are identical. You are not being pulled down. You are being pushed up. Let that sink in for a second. The surface of the Earth is constantly accelerating upward, slamming into the bottom of your feet. Space itself is bending, forcing the ground to expand outward just to stay in the exact same place. But wait, if the Earth is pushing up, what does light have to do with this? Everything. Because if gravity is just geometry, if it is just the physical shape of space pushing things together, then we need to look at what happens when light enters that space. We just established that light pushes. It exerts a physical, bone-crushing pressure on a cosmic scale. So what happens when the upward push of the Earth meets the downward push of trillions of sunbeams? People say light just bends around a planet, but that is just a label. It fights back with a cosmic sledgehammer. Watch this closely. Let me tell you about the time scientists realized light was a physical weapon. It was the early 1600s. Johannes Kepler was staring at a comet in the night sky. He noticed the tail of the comet always pointed exactly away from the sun. Always, no matter which direction the comet was moving. Why? Most people thought it was just the solar wind blowing it back. Wrong. It was the light itself. The sheer brute force of sunlight was physically blowing the comet's dust away. You might say, but light has no mass. How can it push? This is where your intuition fails. Imagine a stream of water from a fire hose hitting a brick wall. It pushes the wall, right? Because water has mass. Now replace the water with a rapid-fire stream of microscopic ping-pong balls. They bounce off the wall. They transfer momentum. Light does exactly the same thing. Every single photon is a tiny jiggling packet of pure momentum. When it slams into an object, it snaps backward, and it physically pushes the object forward. People say light is just a wave of electromagnetic energy, but that's just a label. In reality, it is a relentless physical bombardment. Now watch what this implies. Scale this up. Imagine the sun. It is blasting out photons in every single direction. Trillions of them every fraction of a second. When those photons hit the Earth, they don't just warm up the dirt. They smash into the atmosphere. They hammer the oceans. Collectively, they push against our entire planet with a force of roughly 100,000 tons. Think of a massive freight train fully loaded with solid steel smashing into the Earth without stopping. Forever. That is the physical pressure of sunlight. Radiation pressure. It is literally trying to shove Earth out of the solar system. So why don't we spiral off into the dark, freezing void of deep space? Because of the opposing force, the invisible geometry we call gravity. But here is the trick. If the sun is pushing us away with physical light and gravity is pulling us in, are they just fighting a cosmic tug of war? Stop. Think about the box from the last chapter. The illusion of weight. We already proved gravity isn't a pull, it's space bending. So if gravity isn't a literal string pulling us, and light is a literal hammer pushing us, what exactly happens when the math breaks down? The geometry of the universe is lying to you. Let's look at the lie. So far we've learned two things. First, you aren't being pulled down, the ground is pushing you up. Second, sunlight is physically hammering the Earth. Now watch what happens when we put these two ideas together. This is where your intuition completely fails. Imagine you are standing on a trampoline holding a bowling ball. You drop the bowling ball. It sinks into the center of the trampoline. It creates a deep, curved dent. Now, roll a marble around the edge of that dent. The marble loops around the bowling ball. It looks like the bowling ball is pulling the marble in with an invisible string. People say mass attracts mass, but that's just a label. The bowling ball isn't pulling anything. It is just bending the fabric beneath it. The marble is just following the curved path of the trampoline. That is gravity. It is the geometry of space itself, twisted by mass. But hold on, it gets weirder. Let's replace the bowling ball with the sun and the marble with the Earth. The sun is gigantic. It bends the fabric of space into a massive plunging crater. The Earth is rolling around the inner rim of that crater, constantly trying to move in a straight line, but constantly curving inward because space is warped. The Earth is basically falling into the sun, forever. But wait, we forgot one crucial detail, the sledgehammers. The sun isn't just sitting there being heavy. It is blasting out unimaginable amounts of light. So the Earth is trying to roll down into the crater, but a hurricane of photons is violently shoving it back out. It is a delicate, frantic balance. If the sun were slightly heavier, we would spiral inward and burn. If it were slightly brighter, the radiation pressure would blast us out into the freezing dark. But what if the very thing that makes the sun heavy is the same thing that makes it bright? This is the exact moment the math breaks. We are taught that energy and mass are different. Mass creates gravity. Energy creates light. Wrong. Albert Einstein proved they are two sides of the exact same coin. Mass is energy. Energy is mass. If energy equals mass, and energy exerts pressure, does pressure create gravity? Most physicists hate talking about this, because if light pushes against the Earth, does the pushing itself warp space? Let that sink in for a second. Can the pressure of sunlight actually create its own gravity? When gravity bends, what happens to the light? It breaks. Let me show you how. Here is the part nobody tells you. Gravity doesn't just pull on mass. It doesn't care if you have weight. Gravity is the curvature of space itself. So what happens when a massless photon of light zooms through a dented trampoline of space? It bends. This sounds impossible until you see the trick. Light has no mass. It cannot be pulled by gravity in the classical sense. Isaac Newton would have said a photon flies in a perfectly straight line forever. Wrong. Let me tell you about the time Arthur Eddington proved Newton was mathematically spectacularly wrong. It was 1919, a total solar eclipse. Eddington took a telescope and pointed it at the stars directly behind the sun. Normally, the glare of the sun blinds you, but during the eclipse, the sky went black and the stars appeared. But wait, the stars were in the wrong place. They were shifted, out of alignment. Why? Because the massive dent in space caused by the sun physically warped the path of the starlight. The light hit the dent, bent around the sun, and shot toward Earth. Einstein was right. Gravity bends light. Now watch what this implies. If gravity can bend light, and energy equals mass, then light must have a tiny, infinitesimally small gravitational field of its own. Let me say that again. Light itself creates gravity. Every single photon screaming out of the sun, hammering into the Earth with 100,000 tons of force, is subtly warping the space around it. You might think you know the answer. You don't. Because we just established that light is pushing the Earth away. But if light creates gravity, and gravity pulls things together, then the light from the sun is simultaneously pushing the Earth away and pulling it in. Stop. Think about this. A hurricane of photons is violently shoving our planet outward, but the sheer energy of that hurricane is creating a gravitational dent in space, drawing our planet inward. It is a paradox. How can a single force push and pull at the exact same time? And more importantly, which force is winning? If you understand this, you understand the universe. Because out there, in the darkest, empty corners of the cosmos, this delicate balance is happening on a scale so massive, it will melt your brain. Let's zoom out, far beyond the Earth. Let's look at the cosmic sail. Let me tell you about the time we decided to surf on light itself. It was a crazy idea, a dream from science fiction, but it became real. If light exerts a physical pressure, 100,000 tons of force on our planet, why couldn't we build a ship that sails on it, just like a windjammer sailing across an ocean, catching the breeze? Here's the part nobody tells you. The concept is called a solar sail. Imagine a massive sheet of reflective mylar, unfathomably thin, hundreds of feet wide, drifting silently in deep space. It has no engine, no fuel, no exhaust, but it moves, faster and faster and faster. Why? Because the sun is hammering it with trillions of microscopic ping-pong balls. Every single photon that bounces off the mirror transfers momentum. It pushes the sail. You might think you know the answer. You don't. Because we just established that light is pushing the Earth. So why don't we see the Earth accelerating out of the solar system like a giant solar sail? Stop. Think about this. The Earth is not a featherweight sheet of mylar. It is a massive, rocky sphere. If you take a fire hose and blast a piece of paper, the paper flies away instantly. If you blast a solid concrete wall, it doesn't move. The pressure is the same. The mass is different. But wait, we forgot one crucial detail. The sun isn't just a fire hose. It is a spherical explosion. It is pushing out in all directions. And as you get further away from the sun, the light spreads out. It gets dimmer. The pressure drops. This sounds impossible until you see the trick. The physical push of radiation pressure drops off exactly at the same rate as the gravitational pull. Both follow the inverse square law. They are perfectly mathematically locked together. Now watch what this implies. If they fade at the exact same rate and the sun's gravity is pulling us in, while the sun's light is pushing us out, the Earth is trapped in a permanent stalemate. But what if the star isn't our sun? What if we zoom in on the most violent, explosive, terrifying objects in the universe? Because out there, the balance breaks, and when it breaks, gravity loses. Let's look at the true fabric of space. So far, we've learned three things. First, the Earth pushes up, it doesn't pull down. Second, sunlight acts like a physical sledgehammer, pushing everything away. Third, both the push of light and the pull of gravity weaken at the exact same rate in space. But what if a star gets too heavy, too bright? Let me tell you about the time Arthur Eddington broke the universe again. He didn't just bend starlight, he calculated the absolute limit of a star's existence. It is called the Eddington limit. If a star gets so incredibly massive, gravity pulls its core inward with unimaginable crushing force. That crushing force creates extreme heat. The star blasts out radiation like 1 billion atomic bombs. The light pushing outward meets the gravity pulling inward, a perfect stalemate. But wait, what happens if the star eats more gas? It gets heavier. Gravity pulls harder. The core crushes deeper. It burns brighter. The radiation pressure skyrockets. This sounds impossible until you see the trick. The outward push of light grows faster than the inward pull of gravity. Here's the part nobody tells you. The star literally rips itself apart. The sunlight becomes so violently powerful, it blows the outer layers of the star entirely away into deep space. Light defeats gravity. The sledgehammer shatters the bowling ball. Now watch what this implies. If light can overpower gravity on a cosmic scale, destroying entire stars, what does this mean for the Earth? The sun is slowly, steadily getting brighter. Every single day, it burns hotter, and the radiation pressure pushing against our planet increases. If you understand this, you understand the universe. The delicate, frantic balance keeping us in orbit is subtly shifting. Light is winning the tug of war. The sun is physically shoving the Earth away. But hold on, it gets weirder. Let's look at the experiment that changed everything. Because we didn't just calculate this, we proved it. And the proof happened right here on Earth. Let me tell you about the time we proved light was an absolute physical monster. It was 1901. A physicist named Pyotr Lebedev set up an insanely delicate, terrifyingly precise experiment. He didn't just guess that light pushes, he built a machine to catch the hammer. Imagine a tiny, microscopically thin metal paddle wheel, like a miniature windmill. Lebedev put this windmill inside a vacuum tube. He pumped all the air out. No wind, no currents, nothing. Then he shined a powerful beam of pure light onto one side of the paddle. What do you think happened? Most people thought it was just a wave of electromagnetic energy. It would just warm the metal. Wrong. The windmill spun. The sheer brute force of trillions of photons snapping against the metal paddle physically pushed it forward. This sounds impossible until you see the trick. Lebedev had isolated the exact, minute force of radiation pressure. He proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that light transfers momentum exactly like a stream of water from a fire hose hitting a wall. Here's the part nobody tells you. Lebedev didn't just spin a toy. He proved Kepler right about the comet tail. He proved Eddington right about the stars. He proved that light is literally shoving the entire universe apart. Now watch what this implies. If light pushes objects inside a vacuum tube on Earth, and the sun is blasting out light into the vacuum of space, then the Earth is nothing but a giant rocky windmill paddle, and the sun is shining a relentless, unfathomably powerful beam of light directly onto it. You might say, but wait, Lebedev's paddle was microscopic. The Earth is huge. This is where your intuition completely fails. The Earth isn't just a heavy ball. It has a massive surface area. The cross-section of our planet intercepting that sunlight is roughly 50 million square miles. 50 million square miles of solid rock and ocean acting as a cosmic sail. So if light is a sledgehammer and the Earth is a sail, let that sink in for a second. Why hasn't the sun pushed us completely out of the solar system yet? Because we need to redefine the pull. Let's look at the terrifying truth of gravity. So far, we've learned a ton. The Earth isn't pulling you down, it's pushing you up. Light acts exactly like a stream of physical sledgehammers, and the delicate balance between the push of light and the pull of gravity is all that keeps our entire planet from freezing in deep space. But wait, we forgot one crucial detail. If light has tiny infinitesimal mass, and mass bends space, then the light from the sun is creating a gravitational dent as it flies outward. This sounds impossible until you see the trick. The sun is a massive bowling ball sitting in the middle of a trampoline. But every single photon shooting off that bowling ball is a microscopic grain of sand, bending the trampoline just a tiny bit more. Now watch what this implies. The hurricane of photons is violently shoving our planet away, but the sheer mass of that energy is warping space to draw us closer. It is a paradox. The light is pushing, the light is pulling. Which force wins? Here's the part nobody tells you. The push is mathematically stronger than the pull. Let me say that again. The outward radiation pressure of sunlight is physically more powerful than the tiny gravitational dent created by the photons. The light is winning. You might think you know the answer. You don't. Because we just established that the sun is getting brighter and hotter every single day. If you understand this, you understand the universe. The balance is shifting. Very, very slowly, the Earth is spiraling outward. The sun is physically shoving us farther and farther away into the freezing dark. By an imperceptible fraction of an inch every single year. Stop. Think about this. You thought the Earth was pulling you down. You thought the sun was holding you in place. You were wrong. Let's look at the deep truth of the push. What if I told you that everything you knew about falling was backwards? You thought gravity was pulling you down, but the floor is pushing you up. You thought the sun was pulling us in, but its light is physically shoving us away. Here's the part nobody tells you. The universe is not held together by invisible strings pulling things close. It is shaped by explosive, violent pushing from every single direction. Stop. Think about this. You are not being pulled. You are being pushed by the floor, by the air, by the light of a star 93 million miles away. This sounds impossible until you see the trick. The illusion of weight is just geometry. The sheer brute force of trillions of photons snapping against your skin is reality. Now watch what this implies. If light can push a planet out of a solar system, what is it doing to the rest of the cosmos? Let that sink in for a second. Every single star in every single galaxy is blasting out light, blasting out momentum, shoving matter outward into the cold void. It is a relentless physical bombardment on a cosmic scale. If you understand this, you understand the universe. It's not just radiation pressure. It's the deep truth that the universe is a chaotic engine of expansion, governed by forces we can't even feel. And yet, here we are, suspended perfectly in the middle of a cosmic tug-of-war, feeling nothing but a warm summer breeze. The next time you step outside into the sunlight, close your eyes. Feel the heat on your skin. You are feeling the physical collision of the universe hammering into your atoms. You are feeling the push. If this melted your brain even a little bit, hit subscribe. We are just getting started.